Line hid behind a big crystal pillar in the council room. Her blue hands shook as she watched the 7 leaders of her people sit in their fancy chairs. The room was huge, with a high ceiling that made every sound echo. Lights from above made the leaders' colorful robes shine like water. Line knew she was in big trouble. Her parents were famous scientists who had asked too many questions. They said that different genes might make their people stronger, not weaker. The leaders didn't like that idea, not one bit. And now, Line was paying for her parents' bold ideas. "Specimen L7294, come forward now," shouted Minister Zethan. His deep voice bounced off the walls. Line hated that name. L7294. Like she was a thing, not a person. She took a deep breath and stepped into the bright circle of light in the middle of the room. Her silver blue skin glowed under the harsh lights. She could feel the cold stares of the leaders looking down at her from their high seats. "We have looked at your case for many days," said Minister Zethan, leaning forward. "Your bad genes and your parents' dangerous ideas are a problem. You do not belong with normal Verlani people." People watching from the sides began to whisper. Some pointed at her. Others looked away, afraid they might catch whatever made her different. Line stood tall, but inside her 2 hearts beat so fast they hurt. "We will send you away forever," Zethan continued, his voice getting louder. "You will go to Workstation Delta 9 at the edge of our space. There you can at least be useful by working hard until you die." Line felt cold all over. Delta 9 was the worst place to be sent. Everyone knew about it. It was where they sent criminals, troublemakers, and mistakes like her. No one ever came back from Delta 9. It wasn't a quick death, but it was death all the same. That night, guards came to her small room. They gave her 1 hour to pack her things. Line looked around at the home she had known all her life. The small bed where she slept, the picture of her parents before they were taken away, her books and the small blue plant her mother had given her on her 10th birthday. 1 bag only, a guard said, not looking at her eyes. Line picked up the plant, her parents' picture, 1 change of clothes, and her mother's silver necklace. Everything else would stay behind. The next morning, they put her on a ship with 20 other exiles. Some were criminals with mean faces and scars. Others were sick people who couldn't afford medicine. And some, like Line, were simply born different, in ways the leaders didn't like. A big guard pushed her into a small room with a hard bed. "Sit down and shut up," he said. "It's a long trip to Delta 9. The ship's engines made a loud roar, and Line felt the floor shake. She went to the small window and pressed her 4-fingered hand against the cold glass. Outside, she could see her home planet, Verla Prime, with its 3 moons and beautiful green-blue color. The ship moved faster, and her planet got smaller and smaller. Tears ran down Line's face, but she didn't make a sound. She had learned long ago that crying out loud only made things worse. As her planet became just a dot and then disappeared among the stars, she whispered goodbye to the only home she had ever known. For 5 days, the ship traveled through space. Line stayed in her small room most of the time. Once a day, guards brought food, gray mush that tasted like nothing. Twice, they let her walk in the hall for 10 minutes to stretch her legs. On the 6th day, the ship's speakers made a loud noise. "Approaching Delta 9. All prisoners prepare for landing." Line looked out her window again. What she saw made her stomach twist. Delta 9 wasn't even a proper planet. It was just a dead gray moon with ugly metal buildings stuck to its surface like bugs on a rock. Dark smoke came from tall pipes, and bright lights flashed warning signals. It looked like a place where hope went to die. The guard came back and grabbed her arm. "Time to go, freak," he said with a smile that showed his yellow teeth. "Your new home waits for you." As they led her off the ship into the cold, thin air of Delta 9, Line made a promise to herself. She would survive. Somehow. Some way. She would not let this place break her. What she didn't know then, what she couldn't possibly know, was that across the stars, a human ship called the Horizon was changing course. And on that ship was someone who would change everything for her. Linai stepped off the ship onto the cold metal floor of Delta 9. The air smelled bad, like old machines and too many bodies in a small space. It was hard to breathe. The air was thin, and her lungs had to work harder. She coughed and felt dizzy. A big Verlani with dark green skin walked up to her. He had 3 scars across his face and mean little eyes. "I am Supervisor Crawl," he said in a rough voice. "You are now Worker L7294. Forget your old life. Forget your name. You belong to Delta 9 now." Crawl showed her where she would sleep. ATO, tiny room with 5 other workers. The bed was just a thin mat on a metal shelf. There was no window, no privacy. The other workers didn't look at her or say hello. Everyone here learned quickly to mind their own business. "You start work in 1 hour," Crawl said, shoving a gray uniform at her. "Put this on. Report to Level 3, Section B for your job assignment." The uniform was too big and smelled like someone else had worn it before. It scratched her skin and made her itch. But Linai put it on anyway. She didn't want trouble on her first day. Level 3, Section B turned out to be the maintenance area. A skinny, old Verlani with only 3 fingers on his left hand gave her a toolkit and a work tablet. "You fix things," he said simply. "Broken pipes, bad wires, leaky air seals. If it breaks, you fix it. If you can't fix it, you get punished. Easy to understand, yes?" Linai nodded. She had always been good with machines. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad, but she was wrong. It was worse. The work never stopped. Linai crawled through tiny tunnels where the air was so hot it burned her lungs. She fixed broken pipes that leaked chemicals that made her skin blister. She repaired old wires that shocked her, leaving black marks on her blue hands. When she finished one job, they gave her another, and another and another. "Faster, L7294, Crawl would shout whenever he checked on her. "Too slow. Maybe you need less food until you learn to work harder." At night, Linai fell onto her hard mat, too tired to even eat the gray food paste they gave her. Her dreams were filled with memories of home, of her parents' kind faces, of the blue sky she would never see again. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Linai's once bright silver blue skin turned dull and gray. Her body grew thin, but something inside her stayed strong. They could hurt her body, but they couldn't break her spirit. She learned the rules of Delta 9. Never look Crawl in the eyes. Never help another worker or they'll think you're plotting something. Never complain about the bad air or the worse food. Work until you drop, then get up and work some more. The other workers slowly began to notice her. The way she fixed things no one else could fix. The way she never cried or begged for mercy when Crawl was cruel. The way she shared her water when no one was looking with the oldest and weakest workers. "You different," said an old female worker named Dren one night. "Not just genes. Different here." She tapped her chest where her hearts were. Strong inside. Linai didn't know what to say. It was the first kind word she had heard in months. One day alarms started blaring all over the station. Red lights flashed. People ran in the hallways. "Emergency in Sector 7, shouted the station computer. "Hull breach detected. All non-essential personnel evacuate the area." Crawl's angry voice came over the speakers. "L7294, report to Sector 7 immediately. Fix the breach before we all die." Linai ran to Sector 7. What she found was scary. A small space rock had hit the outside wall of the station. There was a big hole and the air was rushing out into space. 3 workers were already dead on the floor, their bodies blue from no air. Working fast, Linai used her tools to put a metal patch over the hole. The air stopped rushing out, but the patch wasn't strong. It made scary creaking sounds. When the danger was over, Crawl came to check her work. His face was red with anger. "Stupid genetic trash," he shouted, hitting her hard across the face. Blood dripped from her mouth. "This patch is too weak. It will fail in a few days. We've called for new parts, but they won't come for weeks. You will check this patch every 6 hours until the parts come. If it fails, everyone dies, and I'll make sure you die last and painfully." And so began Linai's new job. Every 6 hours, day and night, she had to check the patch and fix any weak spots. She couldn't sleep for more than 5 hours at a time. She grew more tired, more weak. But giving up wasn't an option. So she kept working, kept checking, kept fixing the patch that held back the deadly vacuum of space. It was during one of these checks, as she carefully added more sealant to the edges of the patch, that she heard a new sound, a high, wailing alarm she had never heard before. "Attention all personnel," said the computer voice. "Unknown ship detected in orbit. This is not a drill. Prepare for possible contact with non-Verlani life forms." Linnae looked up from her work, her tired eyes suddenly wide. A non-Verlani ship? Here, at the edge of nowhere? For the first time in months, she felt something strange and forgotten stir in her chest. It felt like hope. Everyone in Delta 9 was scared. An unknown ship was in the sky above them. No one knew what to do. Linnae watched from a small window near her work area as people ran back and forth. Guards pulled out weapons. Supervisor Krall shouted orders. The station's one defense gun, old and probably broken, turned slowly to point at the mystery ship. "All workers go to safe rooms." Krall's voice boomed over the speakers. "Security team to battle stations. This is not a drill." Battle stations? Linnae almost laughed. Delta 9 couldn't fight off space pirates, let alone an alien ship. Their weapons were as old and broken as everything else here. The strange ship was beautiful in a way Verlani ships were not. Verlani ships were all straight lines and sharp angles, like boxes with engines. This ship had curves and smooth surfaces. It looked like it was made to flow through space, not cut through it. Linnae should have gone to the safe room with the other workers. But something made her stay by the window. Curiosity, maybe. Or just the feeling that whatever was happening couldn't be worse than her life already was. The station computer made a strange sound. Then, a voice came through the speakers, but not Krall's voice. This voice was different. It spoke words Linnae didn't understand at first. Then it started to change, like it was trying different languages until it found one that worked. Finally, words Linnae could understand. "Attention unknown station. This is the Earthship Horizon. We come in peace and want to help. Our sensors show your station is damaged. We can bring supplies and help fix the damage if you want." Earth? Linnae had never heard of it. The Verlani always said they were the only smart beings in the universe. But this voice proved that was a lie. Krall's angry voice came next over the system. "All communication devices shut down now. No one speak to the aliens. That's an order." But it was too late. The damage to the station's systems from the hull breach had affected the communication controls. The channel to the alien ship was still open. Linnae looked around. No one was watching her. She was alone in the maintenance area near a working comm panel. Before she could think twice, she pushed the talk button. "Horizon, this is Outpost Delta 9. She said quickly. "We accept your help, but our leaders may not like it." She let go of the button and waited, heart pounding. Had they heard her? Would Krall find out what she did? A few minutes later, she had her answer. The alien ship sent down a smaller ship to dock with Delta 9. Krall and the guards waited at the dock doors with weapons ready. Linnae watched from a hiding place in an air vent above the dock area. The dock doors opened, and for the first time, Linnae saw beings that were not Verlani. They walked on 2 legs instead of 4. Their skin was different colors, some light, some dark, not blue or green like Verlani skin. They had hair on their heads in different colors too. And their eyes. They had only 2 eyes, not 4 like Verlani. One of the aliens stepped forward. He spoke in a clear voice. "I'm Captain Jeff Richards of the Earthship Horizon. We're explorers from the planet Earth. We picked up your station's distress signal and came to help." Distress signal? Linnae was confused. Delta 9 hadn't sent any distress signal. Then she realized. The hull breach must have triggered an automatic signal when the air started leaking out. Krall looked angry but also afraid. His weapon shook in his hands. "We did not ask for help," he said. "Someone from your station accepted our offer," Captain Richards said. "And our scans show you have serious hull damage. We have experts who can help." Krall's face turned dark with rage. He looked at the guards. "Who used the comm system? Find them." But he couldn't turn away help now. The station needed those repairs. If the patch failed completely, everyone would die. Fine, Crawl said finally. Your people can help with repairs, but they stay with guards at all times, and they leave as soon as the work is done. Captain Richards nodded. Agreed. This is our repair team. 5 more aliens stepped forward, carrying toolboxes and equipment. One of them, a male with light brown skin and friendly eyes, looked around with interest. Linnae noticed him right away. There was something about him that seemed kind. She hadn't seen kindness in a long time. My team will need to see the damaged areas, the captain said. Crawl pointed at Linnae's hiding spot. You, L7294, come out of there. Linnae's hearts jumped. How had he seen her? Slowly, she pushed open the vent cover and climbed down. This worker will show your people the hull breach, Crawl said. She's been maintaining the temporary patch. And if she's the one who called you, he leaned close to Linnae and whispered, I'll deal with you later. The brown-skinned alien stepped forward. Hi there, he said with a smile. I'm Alan Foster, engineer from the Horizon. Can you show me where this breach is? Linnae nodded, not daring to speak in front of Crawl. Good, said Captain Richards. Alan, you and your team go with... What's your name? He asked Linnae. She is worker L7294, Crawl said quickly. That's all you need to know. Everyone has a name, Alan said, frowning. Even on Earth, we don't call people by numbers. Linnae felt something strange in her chest. These aliens, these humans, thought she deserved a name. Let's go see this breach, Alan said, giving Crawl a look that showed he didn't like him at team. All. As Linnae led the repair team down the corridor, one guard following behind, she felt confused. Everything she had been taught about being alone in the universe was wrong. These humans seemed so different from Verlani. They smiled. They asked for names. They offered help to strangers. For the first time since she arrived at Delta 9, Linnae felt a tiny bit of hope grow inside her. And it scared her, because hope was dangerous in a place like this. What she didn't know was that this small meeting would change not just her life, but the future of 2 different worlds. Linnae led Alan and his team to Sector 7 where the hull breach was. She walked quickly, keeping her eyes down as she had learned to do at Delta 9. The guard followed close behind them, his weapon ready. Alan looked around as they walked. Your station needs a lot of work, he said in a friendly voice. How long have you been here? Linnae didn't answer. Talking to strangers was dangerous. The guard might report her. It's okay to talk, Alan said softly. I'm just trying to be friendly. When they reached Sector 7, Linnae pointed to the metal patch on the wall. Air still hissed softly around the edges where the seal wasn't perfect. Wow, Alan said, looking at her patch job. You did this? With these basic tools? He seemed impressed. That's really good work for what you had to work with. Linnae blinked in surprise. No one had ever said she did good work before. The human team started checking the damage. They had strange tools that lit up and made beeping sounds. They talked to each other in their own language sometimes, then switched back to Verlani when talking to Linnae. The main problem is here, Alan said, pointing to where the patch met the wall. The stress patterns from the station's movement are pulling on this section. That's why it keeps failing. The other humans nodded. They opened their big toolboxes and took out equipment. One of them handed Alan a small computer. This is going to take a few days to fix properly, Alan told Linnae. We need to replace this whole section, not just patch it. The guard stepped forward. Impossible, he said. Supervisor Crawl said you fix it today and leave. Alan stood up straight. He was taller than the guard. If we just patch it again, it will fail in a week. Tell your supervisor we need to do it right, or we might as well not do it at all. The guard looked nervous, then walked away to talk to Crawl on his comm device. While they waited, Alan turned to Linnae. So, you never told me your name. Linnae hesitated. Then she whispered, They call me L7294 here. Alan frowned. That's not a name. That's a number. What's your real name? Something about the kind way he asked made Linnae want to answer. Linnae, she said softly. My name is Linnae. Alan smiled. Nice to meet you, Linnae. Now, while we wait for your boss to decide, can you tell me more about this station? How many people live here? For the next 3 days, the human team worked on fixing the hull breach. Krall had agreed to let them do it right, but only because Captain Richards had offered valuable supplies in exchange. Linny was assigned to help Alan with the repairs. At first, she was quiet and careful, but Alan talked all the time. About his ship, about Earth, about how things worked. He never talked down to her. He explained things and asked her opinion. See, the way your people have been fixing this is all wrong, he said on the second day. You're fighting against the natural stress patterns. Sometimes you have to work with the damage, not just cover it up. Linny thought about his words. They seemed to mean more than just fixing walls. On Earth, Alan continued, we learned that sometimes the strongest repairs come from working with the break, not pretending it isn't there. By the third day, Linnae had started to talk more. She asked questions about Earth and humans. Each answer amazed her. So humans look different from each other? Different colors and shapes? She asked as they worked side by side. Absolutely, Alan said. Some humans have dark skin, some light. Some have curly hair, some straight. Some are tall, some short. We're all different, and that's considered normal and good. Linny couldn't believe it. But don't you try to make everyone the same? The perfect human? Alan laughed. We tried that once long ago. It was a disaster. We learned that our differences make us stronger as a species, not weaker. Linny's heart beat faster. My parents were scientists, she whispered. They said the same thing about Verlani. That's why they were punished. That's why I'm here. Alan stopped working and looked at her. Your parents were right, Linnae. Genetic diversity makes a species more adaptable, more able to survive changes. It's basic science. The Council doesn't agree, Linnae said sadly. The Council is wrong, Alan said simply. On the last day of repairs, Alan and Linnae worked alone. The other humans were checking other systems in the station. The new hull section was almost complete. What is your difference? Alan asked as they finished the final welds. The reason they sent you here? Linnae was quiet for a long time. Then she decided to trust him. My brain works differently, she said. I see patterns others don't see. I think in pictures, not words. The Council says that makes me defective. Alan shook his head. On Earth, we call that neurodiversity. Many of our greatest inventors and scientists think differently. We value different ways of thinking. Value? Linnae couldn't understand. Not defective? Not defective, Alan confirmed. Special. Valuable. That night, Linnae couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Alan's words, about a world where being different wasn't bad, a world where she might be valued, not hated. For the first time in years, she let herself remember her parents clearly, their kind faces, their gentle words. You're not wrong, Linnae, her mother had said. You're just different, and different can be wonderful. The next morning, news spread through the station. The Verlani patrol ship was coming. Krall had secretly called for it. The humans would be forced to leave. Linnae felt sick. The humans had helped them, fixed their station, shared supplies, and now Krall was treating them like enemies. But more than that, she felt something she hadn't expected. She didn't want Alan to go. When she was with him, she felt like a person again, not a number, not a mistake. She had to find him before the patrol ship arrived, before she lost her one connection to a world where she might belong. Linnae ran through the dark hallways of Delta 9 looking for Alan. She had to find him before the Verlani patrol ship docked. That ship would take the humans away, maybe even hurt them. She found Alan in a small storage room packing his tools. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. Hey, Linnae. I was hoping to see you before we leave, he said. But his smile faded when he saw her face. What's wrong? Patrol ship coming, she said, breathing hard. Krall called them. Not good. Alan nodded. We know. Our captain just got the message. We need to leave in 1 hour. He put down his tools and looked at her closely. What will happen to you after we go? Line looked down. Back to work. Back to being nothing. Alan shook his head. You're not nothing, Line. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that changed everything. Come with us. Line couldn't believe what she heard. What? Come with us to Earth, Alan said again. We have rules about helping people who are being hurt. You could ask for, it's called asylum, protection. But Verlani will chase me, Line said. I'm their property. Our ship is faster than anything I've seen in your fleet, Alan said. And Earth has strong rules about treating people like property. They couldn't touch you without causing big problems between our worlds. Line's mind was spinning. Leave Delta 9? Leave Verlani space? It seemed impossible. But staying meant going back to being nobody, nothing, just worker L7294 until she died. Why would you help me? She asked. You barely know me. Alan smiled softly. Because in the short time I've known you, I've seen how smart you are, how brave, how strong. Because humans believe everyone deserves to be treated with respect. And because... He paused. Because I care what happens to you, Line. No one had cared about her since her parents were taken away. The feeling was so big it hurt her chest. I need to think, she said. But there was no time to think. Alarms started blaring. The patrol ship was docking early. All humans report to main dock for departure, Krall's voice said over the speakers. Any human not at the dock in 10 minutes will be arrested. Alan grabbed his bag. I have to go. Our captain is waiting. He looked at Line. It's your choice. But if you want to come, meet us at docking bay 2 in 8 minutes. We have a plan. He squeezed her hand once, then ran off. Line stood frozen. Leave everything she knew? Go to a world of aliens? But what did she have here? Pain. Loneliness. A slow death. She made her decision. When she reached docking bay 2, the human team was ready to leave. Alan's face lit up when he saw her. You came, he said. I came, she answered. Getting onto the human shuttle wasn't easy. They had to wait until the guards were distracted by a problem the humans had created in another area. Then they ran. As the shuttle flew away from Delta 9, Line looked back through the window. The ugly station grew smaller, just like her home planet had when she was first sent away. But this time she wasn't sad. This time she was going toward something, not just away. On the big ship called Horizon, the human captain, a woman named Kate, welcomed Line. The ship's doctor checked her health, and Alan showed her research from Earth that proved her parents had been right all along. Different genes made species, stronger, not weaker. What happens now? Line asked as she and Alan stood looking out a big window at the stars. Now we go to Earth, Alan said. You'll be the first Verlani to visit our world. It won't be easy, but you won't be alone. He held out his hand, 5 fingers reaching toward her 4. Line took his hand, feeling how different they were, yet how well they fit together. I'm not afraid, she said. And for the first time in many years, she meant it. As the Horizon began its journey to Earth, Line thought about everything that had happened. Cast away by her people, treated like nothing, she had found something she never expected. A place where being different was good. A future that might be worth living. She had found hope in a human. The end.